They say every neighborhood has that one house you don't look at for too long. Not because of some ghost story you heard as a kid, but because something deep in your gut tells you to keep walking. The kind of instinct humans developed way back when shadows meant danger. On Ocean Avenue, that house wasn't just another creepy structure. It was a wound, a quiet, white, two-story warning sign that America tried to forget, but never could. But before the headlines, before the movies, before the whispers, there was just the DeFeo family. A perfect picture: trimmed lawn, polished windows, laughter that sounded normal from the outside. Yet behind those walls, tension rattled like loose nails in a storm. The father ran the house with an iron grip. The mother held her breath too often, and the oldest son, Ronnie, simmered like a pot someone forgot on the stove. People in town saw flashes. An argument here, a slammed door there. Nothing that screamed horror, just the everyday fractures of a family pretending everything was fine. But houses hear things, houses record things. And sometimes, when too much anger builds up, the walls start to echo it back. That night, the house was too still. You know the feeling. When the air gets so heavy it feels like the world is waiting for something terrible to happen. Even the wind outside seemed to stop scratching at the windows. The sky hung low and dark, like it didn't want to watch what was about to unfold. Inside, the DeFeos were asleep. Or maybe they were exhausted from a lifetime of fear. But either way, they didn't hear the footsteps. Slow, steady, deliberate. Steps that didn't match the pace of a human mind. Steps that followed a rhythm that felt borrowed. Ronnie moved through the hallway with a rifle cradled in his hands, his shadow stretching across the walls like it wasn't attached to him. And the strangest thing, he didn't look scared. He looked guided, as if something old and invisible was steering his shoulders, pushing his breath, steadying his hands. He entered his parents' room first. They lay face down, as if already surrendering to a fate they couldn't see. The room should have been warm, but he could see his breath leaving his mouth, a thin cloud drifting through the air like smoke from a ritual. He raised the rifle. Boom. The sound should have shattered the house, should have ripped the silence apart, should have woken the entire street. But it didn't. It felt swallowed, absorbed, as if the house inhaled the noise and held it in its lungs. Another shot. Boom. The father didn't move. The mother didn't turn. No flinching, no gasping, no last-second twist for survival. Just stillness. The kind of stillness that feels staged. He walked down the hall. Not fast, not panicked. His footsteps were almost in sync with something that wasn't there. Like he was dancing to a beat only he could hear. The boys' room came next. Two little brothers curled under their blankets, dreaming about anything except the nightmare drifting toward them. He lifted the rifle again. Boom, boom. More silence, more stillness, more impossible calm. Then the sisters, young, innocent, their beds covered in soft colors and stuffed animals, things meant to protect children from scary dreams. But nothing in that room could protect them from the darkness walking toward them. He fired. Boom, boom. 6 shots, 6 victims, all face down, all untouched by panic. And the world didn't know it yet, but this was the moment a normal crime stepped into legend. This was when the story stopped behaving like reality. Because here's where things break logic. Not one neighbor woke up. Not one family member turned. Not one body showed signs of trying to escape. Every single person stayed exactly where they were. It was like the house pinned them there. Later, investigators tried distance tests, sound tests, vibration tests. None of it made sense. A rifle that loud should have rattled the windows, should have shaken the neighborhood awake. But that night, the air acted like concrete, dead, unmoving, unreactive. It was as if the house wanted silence. Morning came, but it didn't bring peace. Ronnie wandered outside like a ghost wearing human skin. He walked around town, went to a bar, told people he couldn't reach his family. He acted confused, worried, calm, frantic, switching moods like stations on a broken radio. The police arrived, and that's where the second wave of horror began. The moment officers stepped inside, the atmosphere slapped them in the chest. They said the house felt tight, like walking into a room where someone just whispered your name and ducked out of sight. The temperature dipped for no reason. The light seemed thick and slow, like it didn't want to touch the floor. One officer said he felt something brush past him, cold fingertips across the back of his neck. Another said he heard footsteps upstairs, but every room was empty. A third claimed he smelled gunpowder in a hallway far from where any shots were fired. But the most unsettling thing? Every cop, every paramedic, every investigator repeated the same phrase. It felt like the house was watching us. The bedrooms were worse. The bodies were positioned with unnatural precision. Face down, perfectly aligned. No disruption of blankets, no defensive wounds. Nothing to indicate awareness. It looked wrong, too clean, too careful. Like someone or something wanted the scene to look exactly like that. Reporters later described the layout as ritualistic. They didn't know how right they might have been. When Ronnie was questioned, his story started to bleed at the edges. First, he blamed an intruder. Then he blamed a mob hit. Then he blamed his sister. But eventually, when the walls of reality started folding in on him, he said the words that ignited the legend. "I didn't do it alone. The voices told me to." Investigators dismissed it. Courts dismissed it. But the public didn't. Because the more details came out, the more the story felt wrong. 6 bodies, face down, no struggle, no screams, no movement. And then the part that froze the country. Medical examiners couldn't explain why none of the victims woke up. Sedation? No. Drugs? No. Health issues? No. Their bodies showed no reason for such unnatural stillness. It was like they were held down by invisible hands. And when rumors surfaced about the property's past, land with old tragedies buried beneath it, stories whispered by locals but never written down, the legend grew teeth. People started driving past the house slower, whispering in diners, wondering out loud if evil could live in wood and nails. But the house didn't care about rumors. It just waited. Because a few months later, when a new family moved in and things spiraled into darkness again, cold spots, voices, shadows in corners, the world realized the truth. This wasn't a house. This was a predator. And predators don't forget blood. The days after the murders felt unreal, like the entire town was walking through fog. Reporters flashed cameras, neighbors whispered behind curtains, and the house on Ocean Avenue sat there pretending to be asleep. But it wasn't asleep. Everyone who stepped inside could feel it breathing. The investigators tried to approach the case with logic, but logic collapsed the moment they entered the hallway. One detective said every step he took sounded muffled, like the floor didn't want to echo his footsteps. Another said he felt a pressure on his chest, heavy enough that he had to keep pausing to breathe. A seasoned officer, someone who had seen shootings, fires, highway wrecks, walked out of the house and sat in his car shaking, refusing to go back in. He told a colleague later, "There's something in that place that doesn't want us there. I don't know what it is, but it's watching." Even the medical examiners began to second-guess everything they knew. They studied the bodies, looking for anything that could explain the impossible stillness. But every report came back the same. No sedatives, no toxins, no signs of restraint. Nothing. 6 people, shot, face down, still, silent. It didn't add up. And while the investigators drowned in confusion, the town drowned in fear. Kids avoided the street. Adults crossed the road before passing the house. Parents dragged their children away from the sidewalk like the grass itself might reach up and grab them. Even mailmen refused to set foot on the porch. The place felt wrong, heavy, like the air thickened the closer you got to the front steps. Inside the interrogation room, Ronnie was a storm with no shape. Some days he acted like a scared kid. Other days he grinned through the questions like he knew a secret nobody else did. But the most disturbing moments were when he went still, completely still, like something behind his eyes was listening to a voice only he could hear. He'd lean forward, drop his tone, and whisper things like, "They wouldn't stop. They talked all night. They told me what to do. They were already dead when I pulled the trigger." The detectives dismissed this as theatrics. But the problem was, some of what he said matched strange details inside the house. Things nobody outside law enforcement knew yet, like the cold spots in the hallway, or the strange pull toward the parents' room, or the way the air felt colder near the children's beds. "How do you know that?" they asked him. He smiled. "They told me." When news leaked, the country spiraled. People argued on TV. Psychologists tried to diagnose him from a distance. Priests called the house cursed. Skeptics claimed drugs, trauma, manipulation. Everyone wanted an explanation that felt safe. But nothing about this case felt safe. The house became a magnet for darkness. Curious kids dared each other to touch the front door. Paranormal thrill seekers drove up at night and sat in their cars, trying to work up the courage to step out. Some swore they saw shapes move behind the curtains. Others said they heard whispers on the wind. And then the house was sold. A new family moved in. The Lutz family. A fresh start, they said. A beautiful home at a low price. A place to build memories. They unloaded their boxes, set up furniture, painted walls, tried to pretend the past was gone. But the house wasn't done. The first night, the temperature inside dropped so suddenly the family could see their breath. They checked the heating system. Perfectly fine. Still, the air felt like winter was hiding inside the walls. The second night, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Heavy, slow, too deliberate to be the house settling. By the fourth night, doors slammed themselves. Shadows crawled along walls when no one was near. A strange smell, sweet, rotting, metallic, drifted through the rooms without any source. The family dog refused to enter the house after sundown. It scratched at the back door, whining, pacing in circles with its fur raised, staring at something invisible in the corner like it was seeing a predator. On the seventh night, one of the children woke up screaming. When the parents rushed in, they found the kid sitting upright, eyes wide, pointing at the closet and whispering, "She keeps asking where her brothers are." There was no she in the room, but the parents felt the cold shift in the air, like someone had just left. The Lutz family kept trying to rationalize everything, but the house wasn't interested in reason. It wanted fear. It fed on it. Every day grew darker. Every night grew colder. Every moment felt like the walls were inching closer. The father began waking up at the same time every night, 3:15 a.m., the exact time of the murders. He'd sit up without knowing why, sweat dripping down his back, heart pounding, feeling a presence standing near the foot of the bed. He never saw anything, but he knew something was there, watching, waiting. The mother developed bruises she couldn't explain, deep marks on her arms, her legs, her ribs, shaped like fingers. The staircase creaked when no one was on it. The windows rattled when the wind was still. Voices echoed in empty rooms, soft, desperate, angry. One night, the father swore he heard chanting under the floorboards. Not human chanting, something older, deeper. Another night, a black figure shaped like a man stood at the edge of their bed. Not moving, not breathing, just staring. The family lasted less than a month. They left in the middle of the night, left everything, furniture, clothes, dishes, photographs. They didn't look back. They didn't want to. Reporters asked them why they ran. The father simply said, "Because the house wanted us dead." And suddenly, the murders didn't feel like a closed case anymore. They felt like the beginning of something much darker. People started asking questions again. What force could freeze 6 people face down in their beds? What kind of presence could turn a normal family into trembling shadows of themselves within weeks? And if the house was feeding on fear, whose fear was next? Ocean Avenue became a ghost story you could drive past. The windows remained dark. The yard stayed quiet. But everyone knew the truth. The story never ended. It just stopped being loud. Because some houses don't haunt people. Some houses eat people. Some houses remember blood like a taste they can't shake. And this one is still waiting. Closing line. And if you ever stand outside that house and feel something cold brush the back of your neck, don't turn around. The moment you look at it, it looks back.